The Honda NT1100 DCT and Honda Africa Twin DCT share the same 1084cc parallel twin engine and Honda's advanced dual-clutch transmission, but they target very different riders, one built for smooth sport touring comfort and the other for rugged adventure capability. Let's break down how these two motorcycles truly compare. The biggest difference between the NT1100 and the Africa Twin is the mission. The NT1100 is a sport tourer aimed at riders who spend most of their time on pavement and want comfort, wind protection, and easy long-distance manners. Honda even describes it as blending sport bike responsiveness with touring comfort, and its chassis, 17-inch wheels, lower seat, and adjustable windscreen all support that role. The Africa Twin is the more adventurous machine, designed to handle pavement, rough roads, and real off-road terrain, thanks to its taller suspension, 21-inch front wheel, and more dirt-ready stance. This comparison is not about which bike is better overall, but which better matches your riding style. For mostly highways, back roads, commuting, and weekend trips, the NT1100 has an advantage. If you want one bike for both state-to-state and off-pavement riding, the Africa Twin stands out. Both bikes use Honda's 1084cc liquid-cooled parallel twin 4-stroke engine architecture, and both come with Honda's 6-speed dual-clutch transmission. That means both deliver the basic Honda DCT advantages: fully automatic shifting for convenience, plus manual control via paddle shifters for more involvement. Honda also notes smoother low-speed control and more natural gear changes for the Africa Twin. But they do not feel identical. Honda says the NT1100's engine is the Africa Twin's retuned for performance touring, and that tells you a lot. The NT1100 is tuned to feel smoother and more road-focused, with strong, usable torque across the rev range for everyday street riding. The Africa Twin keeps more of the rugged adventure bike character, which fits its taller gearing feel, off-road intent, and more all-terrain personality. Same family, different attitude. This is where the difference becomes obvious on paper. The NT1100 uses a 43mm inverted Showa SFF BP fork with 5.9 inches of travel and a ProLink Showa rear shock with 5.9 inches of travel. The Africa Twin gets a 45mm inverted Showa SFF BP fork with 9.1 inches of travel and a ProLink Showa single shock with 8.7 inches of travel. On the road, the NT1100's shorter suspension should feel more planted, lower, and calmer during fast cornering, braking, and highway cruising. It is simply built to stay composed on asphalt. The Africa Twin's longer travel suspension gives it a huge advantage when the surface gets broken, sandy, rocky, or unpredictable, but that same setup can feel taller and a little less tied down in purely sporty street use. Riders who stay on pavement will probably prefer the NT's lower, more road-biased feel. Riders who want to absorb potholes, washboard trails, and rough terrain will prefer the Africa Twin almost instantly. The wheel setup tells the story at a glance. The NT1100 runs 17-inch wheels front and rear with a 120/70/17 front tire and 180/55/17 rear tire. The Africa Twin uses a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear with a 90/90/21 front tire and 150/70 R18 rear. Honda also highlights the Africa Twin's wire-spoke wheels and its off-road focused standard model setup. That gives the NT1100 the more street-oriented steering response. It should turn in quicker on pavement, feel more stable with road tires, and suit sport touring riders better on twisty asphalt. The Africa Twin, by contrast, will roll over rough terrain better, track through loose surfaces more confidently, and feel more natural standing on the pegs. On a smooth mountain road, many riders will be faster and more relaxed on the NT1100. On gravel, dirt, or mixed terrain travel, the Africa Twin is the obvious winner. For many riders, this may be the deciding category. The NT1100 has a 32.3-inch seat height, while the Africa Twin sits much higher at 34.3 inches in the standard position or 33.5 inches in the low position. The NT1100 also has a 5-position adjustable windscreen with 6.5 inches of adjustment, one of its biggest comfort advantages for highway use. The NT1100's lower seat makes it easier to manage in traffic and at stops, appealing to shorter riders or those who value everyday confidence. The Africa Twin's height is part of its adventure appeal, but it is a taller, more demanding machine. For pavement tours and daily ease, the NT1100 is friendlier. For those comfortable with taller ergonomics, the Africa Twin offers a commanding view and more ground clearance. Despite looking like the bigger adventure bike, the Africa Twin DCT is actually lighter than the NT1100 DCT. Honda lists the Africa Twin DCT at 535 pounds, while the NT1100 DCT comes in at 547 pounds. The Africa Twin also has a longer 62.0-inch wheelbase, compared with the NT1100's 60.4-inch wheelbase. That is interesting because the NT1100 will still likely feel easier for many riders in normal use, thanks to the lower seat and the road-oriented, lower-slung package. The Africa Twin may be lighter on paper, but the extra height and long travel chassis can make it feel bigger at low speeds. On the highway, both should be solid, but the NT1100's lower profile, wind management, and sport touring shape make it the more natural interstate machine. The Africa Twin feels more like a go-anywhere tool that happens to tour well, while the NT1100 feels like a touring bike first. Honda lists the NT1100 DCT with a 5.4-gallon fuel tank and the Africa Twin with a 5.0-gallon tank. That gives the NT1100 a small but meaningful touring advantage before fuel economy even comes into play. More fuel, plus a road-focused fairing and windscreen, make it better suited for covering long highway miles with fewer stops and less fatigue. The NT1100 also emphasizes optional accessory luggage in Honda's model description, reinforcing its role as a ready-made sport tourer. The Africa Twin is still very travel-capable, but its practicality extends beyond that. It's built for multi-surface exploration, not just gobbling interstate miles. So, if your idea of travel is crossing states on pavement with luggage and comfort, the NT1100 feels more specialized and complete. If your idea of travel includes gravel roads, forest routes, and detours just because they look interesting, the Africa Twin's kind of practicality is more valuable. Both bikes benefit from Honda's DCT technology, which remains one of the strongest reasons to choose either model. The NT1100 also stands out with its 6.5-inch TFT display, while the Africa Twin lineup includes Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard across all models, according to Honda. From a user experience standpoint, both bikes are modern enough for serious touring and daily use. The difference is in presentation. The NT1100's tech package feels targeted at comfort, convenience, and ease on road trips. The Africa Twin's tech is more focused on adventure versatility, with the electronics and layout supporting both road and trail use. Neither is short on capability, but the NT1100 packages its tech in a more road luxury way, while the Africa Twin packages it in a more expedition-ready way. The NT1100 DCT starts at $11,999, while the Africa Twin starts at $15,199. On the Africa Twin page, Honda lists the Africa Twin DCT at $15,999 plus destination. That is a very large gap between these two DCT models. This price difference makes the NT1100 DCT a compelling value in Honda's street lineup. You get the 1084cc Twin, DCT, touring comfort, TFT display, adjustable windscreen, and a street-focused setup for thousands less. The Africa Twin earns its higher price with more suspension, true adventurability, and a taller setup. If you won't use the off-road advantages, the NT1100 is the better buy. The NT1100 DCT wins. It's less expensive, more accessible, focused on highways, easier at stops, and fits most owners' needs. Its lower seat, 17-inch wheels, adjustable windscreen, and touring setup make it the better everyday motorcycle if you ride mostly on pavement. The Africa Twin DCT stands out only if your riding regularly includes true off-road conditions or adventure terrains. Its unique hardware, longer suspension, 21-inch front wheel, and lightweight chassis make it ideal for exploration beyond pavement. However, if your priorities are commuting, budget, and daily road performance, the NT1100 DCT fits those needs decisively and is the stronger overall pick.